Hello there, Scouts and Scouters. I am Scouter Steve. Are you familiar with Tom Slade, Roy Blakely, Westley Martin, or Pee Wee Harris? Welcome to my scouting collection. This is episode 8, the Boy Scout books of Percy Keese Fitzhough. Did you know that back in the early days of scouting, a century ago, several authors were writing stories about Boy Scouts and their adventures? One of those authors, Percy Keese Fitzhough, introduced a group of boys in his novels that became very popular during the 19-teens and the 1920s. His stories were so well written that some of these characters actually received fan mail, and some of his characters are still with us today, found as a comic in Boys Life and Scout Life magazines. I'd like to share my collection with you that I have picked up of those original novels. Let me share with you a few facts and figures about this author to begin with. Percy Keese Fitzhough was born September 7th, 1876. He passed away July 5th of 1950. So, before I was born, yeah, I know, a long time ago. He wrote nearly 100 books for youth, the majority of them about Boy Scouts. The boys he wrote about, the four I mentioned at the beginning here, Tom Slade, Pee Wee Harris, Roy Blakely, and Westley Martin, were members of Troop 1 in a fictional town of Bridgeboro, New Jersey. Now, there is a real Bridgeboro, New Jersey, but the town that he wrote about was not based on the real town. It was actually based on his hometown that he grew up in. The inspiration for a lot of these Boy Scouts in his books actually came from a real Boy Scout troop that he knew of at the time. One thing I think is kind of cool is that nearly all his books about Boy Scouts did receive the seal of approval from the Boy Scouts of America at that time. Now, like I said, there are 4 main boys that he follows during their Boy Scout adventures. There was also a 5th series of books that was just kind of a random troop that he kind of followed. The first one of the boys that he wrote books about was Tom Slade, which is over here. The second one was Roy Blakely. The third one was Pee Wee Harris, and the fourth one was Westley Martin. There were a total of 59 books featuring these 4 characters, written about these 4 characters. Out of those 59 books, I own 15 of them. Got a long ways to go. But a lot of these books are now in the public domain and are available in digital format online that you could bring down or read on your computer or your laptop or your iPad or whatever. I have a couple dozen of the digital books. I need to go out there and find more. In fact, I should really try to find more of these books. The thing is, over the years, they've gotten a little more pricey, of course, as they become older and older. And you're going to see a lot of these books I have here are from, in fact, all of these books I have here are from the 19-teens, the 1920s, and the 1930s. So, how'd you like to find out which ones that I have been able to get my hands on? Okay, the first boy that he wrote about, or that had his own series, I should say, was Tom Slade. He wrote 19 books in the Tom Slade series from 1915 through 1930. Unfortunately, of that series, which basically had the most books, I've only got one of them. And this is from 1915, just titled Tom Slade, Boy Scout. And a lot of his book series of the different boys, the first book basically is just the boy's name. And then from there, we go on the different adventures. This one, I do have the original one from the printers, Gossett and Dunlap. But I have a second version of it, and this one was printed by Whitman. So this is, I guess, would be a reprint, and this would be the original. This one I do still have the jacket cover for, although as you can see, the jacket cover is not in the greatest shape anymore. But hey, I got the jacket cover. What is this book about? Well, if I pull out one of Roy Blakeley's books, I did find that in the back of the book, there is a brief synopsis of the books. For Tom Slade, Boy Scout, it says, Tom Slade lived in Barrel Alley. The story of his thrilling scout experiences, how he was gradually changed from the street gangster into a first-class scout, is told in almost as moving and stirring a way as the same narrative related to motion pictures. Doesn't that kind of make you want to read it? Started as a street gangster, became a first-class Boy Scout. That's a little bit of a change of pace for a scout, isn't it? So there it is, Tom Slade, Boy Scout. The next series that he started writing, and he overlapped a lot with these series, but the Roy Blakeley series had 18 books, was written from 1920 to 1931. So for the first 5 years of his writing, Tom Slade was the main Boy Scout. But these boys overlapped within their books. So some of these books had Roy Blakeley, had Pee Wee Harris, so forth and so on. Now, as far as Roy Blakeley's books, like I said, there's 18 of them. I have 5. Which 5 do I have? Well, as you can see first here, I have Roy Blakeley's Camp on Wheels. And what is this book about? Not all the books had a synopsis of the book series in their book, so I have to kind of go to a different book here to do it. Okay, as far as Roy Blakeley goes, and this one was Camp on Wheels, this is the story of a wild and roaming career of a ramshackle old railroad car, which has given Roy and his companions a troop meeting place. The boys fall asleep in the car, and in the night, and by a singular error of the railroad people, the car is taken up by a freight train and is carried westward, so that when the boys awake, they find themselves in a country altogether strange and new. The story tells of the many and exciting adventures in this car. So, kind of an accident on wheels, you could say. The next one in this series that I own is Roy Blakeley's Adventures in Camp. I do not have the book cover for this one, which doesn't really matter to me because I have the book. Now this one, unfortunately, did have the first few pages lost, but the rest of the book looks to be in really good shape. In fact, most of the books that I have here seem to be in very good shape. But anyway, back to Adventures in Camp. What does it say about this one? Well, it says, Roy Blakeley and his patrol are found in this book once more a happily established camp. Roy and his friends incur the wrath of the landowner, but the doughty Pee Wee saves the situation and the wealthy landowner as well. The boys wake up one morning to find Black Lake flooded far over its banks, and the solving of this mystery furnishes some exciting reading. It's not too bad. Kind of sounds like it would be a good story to read, doesn't it? I'm going to leave this one open while we go to the next one here. And this is the third book that I own, which is actually number 5 in the series. Written in 1920. Boy Scouts, or Roy Blakeley's Silver Fox Patrol. What is this one about? In the car, which Roy Blakeley and his friends have for a meeting place, is discovered an old faded letter dating from the Klondike gold days. And it appears that the location of a certain bags of gold buried by a train robber. The quest for this treasure is made in an automobile, and the strange adventures on this trip constitute this story. So, sounds kind of fun, doesn't it? Let's try to find the buried gold. Almost like a pirate story, but not quite. The next one I have for Roy Blakely is Motor Caravan from 1921. This is the 6th book of the series. Got a very short synopsis here. Roy and his friends go west to bring back some motor cars. They have some very amusing and also serious adventures. Not a whole lot written about that one in the synopsis here. Unfortunately, these books, unlike books of today, don't really tell you much on the cover about what's in the story. You got to buy the book and read it. The last one I have of Roy Blakely's adventures is Tangled Trail from 1924. And what does this one say? I don't know, because this one came out later and is not, there is no writing in the back on what this one is. But it must be about a tangled trail. I have not read all of these. I have read one or two, and to tell you the truth, it's like going back in time to see what life was back by then, because the boys speak differently, they act differently. Just the way the books are, it's almost like a time machine, taking you back to those 1920s to see what scouting and what boys' adventures were like. So there are the books of the Roy Blakely series that I own. Like I said, there's 18 of them. I only have 5, so I've got a ways to go with these. Let's set these off to the side here. And we'll go to the next one, which happens to be Pee Wee Harris. Okay, the first book of Pee Wee Harris was from 1922, titled Pee Wee Harris. What is this book about? Well, it says here, Pee Wee Harris goes to visit his uncle whose farm is located on a byroad. Pee Wee conceives the idea of starting a little shack along the road in which to sell refreshing meats and automobile accessories. In accordance with his invariable good luck, scarcely has he started his little shack than the bridge upon the highway burns down and the obscure country road becomes a thoroughway for automobiles. Pee Wee reaps a large profit from his business during the balance of the summer. So we find out Pee Wee's a little entrepreneur here. Not too bad. Kid's got smarts. By the way, I haven't looked at the other books. Sometimes I do have the price that I paid for these books inside, because most of these books I picked up at used bookstores. I did pick up a few of the later ones online, but this one has $15 written in the side cover, which might be a little expensive, and I'm sure this was probably maybe 50 cents or $1 back then when it came out, maybe even less than that. But I didn't think $15 was too bad for a book from 1922. The next one I have is Pee Wee Harris on the Trail, and just real quick, like, no writing on the inside cover, so I'm not sure what I paid for this one. This one came out in 1922, and what is it about? Pee Wee gets into the wrong automobile by mistake and is carried to the country where he has a great time and many adventures. So it sounds like Pee Wee might not have his scouting buddies along in that one. Now, on the trail, I actually have, again, a second copy. And this one, once again, is by Whitman. So, got the original version here, and I've got the reprint by another publishing company here. The third story I have of Pee Wee Harris is F.O.B. Bridgeboro, written in 1923. This is number 6 of the series. And as far as this one goes, I do not have a synopsis on this one. Nope, no synopsis on this one. But that one does not quite get us to the end here, because I have 2 more. I have Pee Wee Harris Fixer from 1924 and Pee Wee Harris As Good As His Word from 1925. And this one must have been read a lot and probably taken along on camp, because whatever kid had this one, he used it and marked it up quite a bit. It's actually quite dirty, penciled up. It does have the name Elmer Hancock written inside of it, and along with a little note on the other page saying Elmer from Sadie, 1926. As far as the cover goes, I can't quite read what it was. It might have been $11.50 that I paid for this one. As you can see, the kid did have a little fun just writing in his book. But I think the book is intact. It doesn't appear to be missing any pages. So someday I've got to sit down and read these things. Or put them at least on my tablet and read them that way. So that finishes the Pee Wee Harris books. What do I have next? Well, there's only one character left that still has some books here. And that would be Westy Martin. Now, Pee Wee Harris, from what I understand, is kind of a smaller boy. Has a little luck on his side. Westy Martin is a bit of a taller kid, a little skinny kid. In the comics, he's portrayed as wearing glasses in the Boy's Life magazine. The first one, once again, is written or titled Westy Martin, plain and simple. This came out in 1924. Westy was the last one to receive a book series. By the way, there were 13 books in the Pee Wee Harris series, which were written from 1922 to 1930. Westy Martin only had 9 books in his series, from 1924 to 1933. And the series, kids started drifting away from it into other things by the time this series came out. So, of course, Westy wasn't quite as popular as the other guys. But he still got a series. He still had 9 books. So this is the first one. And in the back of this book, yeah, it really doesn't say anything in here either. So the only way to find out what this one is to go online and see if you can find a synopsis of it, which I did not do before this video. So we're going to go through the Westy Martin books pretty quick here, seeing that I've only got 4 of them and I don't have synopsises of them. So we've got Westy Martin, the first book in the series. I have Westy Martin in the Yellowstone. I have Westy Martin in the Rockies. And Westy Martin on the Santa Fe Trail. Westy Martin got around quite a bit, don't you think? He seems to like going west from New Jersey. Well, those are the books that I own that were written by Percy Keese Fitzhough. How many of these books have you heard of? Have you heard of these characters? Have you read their comics in Boy's Life magazine? If you have collected any of these over the years, why don't you leave a comment and let me know which ones you have and if you've read them and how well you like them. Well, that brings us to a close for this video. So until next time, happy scouting!